Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
Your edge because I'm wheezing on your grind is just chill. Because if I had the whole Brady Bunch thing happen at my pad, I'd go grind over there.
You're supposed to be stupid, son. Don't abuse the privilege.
Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face.
That's $2 plus tip.
Gee, I'm real sorry your mom blew up, Ricky.
I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the intersection of faith, family, and filmmaking. You're listening to Fearless with Mark and Amber, a behind the scenes of our filmmaking ministry, Fearless Features, where we are creating educational, documentary films about the issues impacting our culture and society from a biblical perspective, and pursuing truth above all else. I'm Amber Archer, and joining me is my husband, author, director, speaker, Mark Archer.
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job?
You can learn more about us and the movies we're making by visiting fearlessfeatures.org. It's also a great place to make that one-time or monthly donation if you are passionate about reaching the lost for Christ through films. Visit fearlessfeatures.org to share your support today.
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really ridiculously good looking?
Hello, love.
Honestly, hello, back for another episode.
I have some new buttons.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Where did I put it?
I have no idea where you put it.
I'll find it. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, this one. You ready for this?
Okay.
Well, if you take 5 and you add 5 and you add 10 and you add 10 and you got 20, you got infinite kindness, you got infinite gratuity. And through that, you can find something that's perpetual inside of you. Like you're drinking that coffee. There's something spiritual about that.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? What are you listening to?
So,
do I even want to know is the question.
You know, I scour the internet for these things.
I'm sure you do.
This is actually a deep fake of Gary Busey.
Oh.
And if you look on YouTube, you'll find it, and it's very authentic. I mean, it looks and sounds just like him.
Yeah.
But it's a couple guys doing a radio show, and they did this
to prove a point?
I don't know. I haven't watched the whole episode.
Okay.
But there is a separate clip where you can see side by side the guy doing the impersonation, but they changed his appearance and they changed his voice. And because Gary Busey is odd anyway.
Yeah.
But when you see,
so you could come to expect it.
Yeah, but then when you see other clips of Gary Busey now, and his voice is a lot deeper now. I mean, he's quite a bit older, so
okay.
But Gary Busey he's odd. He's always been a strange bird.
Okay, well, you've got a new button. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I have another clip of it here. Hold on.
Well, and I should say, I before you go back to that, last week, you were sharing clips, and we got a few laughs from sharing about where we met and how ChatGPT got it drastically wrong based on video analysis of our testimony.
Yeah.
A 2-part testimony that we did with Heidi St. John.
Trust the system.
And I think I have to go back and kind of clarify, because the part where it was talking about how we met in a providential way. Now, when first reading it, that's a lowercase providential, I'll just say, and so that's occurring at a favorable time or opportunity. Just wanted to clarify, because we have said many times the Lord has a sense of humor. Surely the Lord has a sense of humor. Listen, we met in a strip club. I started attending a church in a movie theater, and then we met.
Yeah.
So providential, yes, the Lord obviously had a plan. Here we are today, doing the Lord's work and serving the Lord. And I definitely just want to tell people, if you are lost and struggling, because I actually had somebody like, how can you so openly share that? Like I'm somehow gonna run from it or hide. No, it's part of the Lord's story. It's his story. And I am not going to deny what the Lord has done in my life, especially to transform my life from what I once was, a wretch. And so if you are stuck in those things, the Lord is near, can be near to you, and you can find freedom. You know, who the Son sets free, he is free indeed. So I am unashamed of the gospel. I just wanted to clarify that.
Buttered sausage.
Unbelievable. Go with your buttered sausage.
Let's talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face.
I had
buttered
a
sausage.
legit, like, serious conversation here, and you bring in
buttered sausage.
This deep fake. Okay, moving on. What do you have to talk about, dear? Because I see you have
buttered
a list of articles.
Buttered sausage.
This week is exciting. Oh, but before we go on to what you have, stop playing your buttered sausage because I'm over it.
I have no response to that.
Wait a minute. Wait. Where did my so cannot forget this week, this Friday in Noblesville, Indiana, at Life Church, screening of Title IX. There have been many developments, and we are still. It's incredible to see the news continue to go on and on and on about Title IX and things that are happening. Things are shifting in the right direction very rapidly. And so we're going to do our best to make sure that everybody is up to speed at where we are, even from when we shot the film, but how it still pertains to what's going on today. And if you're able to join us in person, we are having a 20-minute segment of our new movie, Principalities, Doctrine of Demons, if you are nearby. We would love to meet you. We hope you can join us July 11th, Noblesville, Indiana, Life Church, 7 p.m.
And former Attorney General Curtis Hill
Yes.
is still planning on being with us.
So if you have questions, especially from the legal aspect of it, Curtis is in the film. He is part of the cast, and so we are excited to have him join us as well.
Yep. And we're Micah Beckwith is tentatively coming.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
We know he's busy. I mean, praise the Lord. We are excited to see men stand.
Yes.
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job?
Moving on. I think that's all of my announcements and clarifications.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the wins here.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like all of you, and because we deal in this all the time, and so we struggle too, because everything that we see is the trouble, is the problems.
When you're the watchman on the wall and you have to report back to everybody what's happening, it does wear on you quite a bit.
Yeah. And so we want to always be, honest about things that we're seeing and warn you about things that need to be warned about, but we also need to celebrate when there's wins. And I've been watching this big, beautiful bill. We're going to talk about that. It just passed. It was signed into law. Listen, you're never going to be 100% happy with anything that you get.
It's not going to be perfect.
It's not perfect, but there are some really, really good things in this that we want to celebrate. And along with that, let's just talk about a couple of these things that have happened because of politics, because of those of you who have gotten involved and motivated other people to go out and get involved and to vote. Here's one from LifeSite. The Trump Transportation Secretary tells governors to remove gay sex pride sidewalks. As Pride Month came to a close, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sent a letter to the governors of all 50 states telling them to remove potentially dangerous distractions from intersections and roadways. Although left unsaid in the letter, Duffy made it clear in an X post that chief among those distractions are rainbow crosswalks, which promote pro-LGBTQ plus messaging in cities large and small across the nation. Quote, taxpayers expect their dollars to fund safe streets, not rainbow crosswalks. Also, quote, political banners have no place on public roads. Thank you. Thank you. I'm reminding recipients of U.S. DOT roadway funding that it's limited to features advancing safety and nothing else. It's that simple. That's the power of an election.
Well, and I do also just want to point out that here the Supreme Court has agreed to hear cases on the transgender athletes. So that was July 3rd that they came out and said that they were going to start to hear the cases. So I'm sure that things are going to continue to change, evolve, if you will.
This stuff is all coming unraveled for them very, very quickly. Trump has just gone in and absolutely lit that place on fire. And because that's why we put him in office. Here's another one from Fox. The Pixar staff reportedly deeply saddened LGBTQ elements were cut from studio's latest film called Elio. Multiple Pixar employees are reportedly very unhappy with the theatrical cut of Pixar's latest film, Elio, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Staff at the beloved animated film studio, which is owned by Disney, are upset that LGBTQ elements of the film were removed before its final theatrical release. Quote, "It was pretty clear through the production of the first version of the film that studio leaders were constantly sanding down these moments in the film that alluded to Elio's sexuality of being queer," an anonymous artist who worked on the film told the outlet. Several Pixar staff members revealed to the outlet that Elio, the latest Pixar offering about a boy who is mistakenly beamed up from Earth to interact with an intergalactic body of alien races, was heavily edited to be less overtly LGBTQ. After Molina, let's see, and okay, this is continuing on. According to multiple insiders who spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, Elio was initially portrayed as a queer-coded character reflecting original director Adrian Molina's identity as an openly gay filmmaker. Can I just point out, this is why it is so important for the church. I'm not talking about your church. I'm talking about the body of Christ, the church, to encourage its young people into the arts.
I'm glad that you said it, because I was sitting here thinking the same thing, because we talk about all the time, especially being involved in the public square, if you will. And we, again, one body, many parts, we all have a job to do. We talk about this with the books, movies, whatever, social media, whatever it is, it's influencing our children. And just because there's a new administration and there seemingly seems to be all of these wins, people who disagree with where we stand for biblical values and a biblical worldview, it doesn't mean that these people have gone away by any means. And we still can encourage the right way of thinking where we are.
Yeah, instead of complaining about it and just seeding, the church seeded this ground generations ago, and it's wrong. It's just wrong.
To stay out of the arts, to stay out of Hollywood.
We have completely given up the arts. Look at again, go back in history and look at the old cathedrals. Look at who really, the Renaissance was brought about really by Christianity. And we, somewhere along the line, decided that was for somebody else. I mean, I had this struggle because I came up in the church in a Christian school, and there were people, of course, who encouraged me in it. My mom and dad did. They didn't know always how to encourage me in it,
or what it would look like.
But they were always supportive. But there certainly were people in that environment who would tell me things like, "Well, that's the devil's playground, and I can't believe that you would go into that." I had a missionary tell me that one time that no Christian could ever be in the film industry because it's akin to working at the Satanic Temple or something. I mean, it's just it was ridiculous what he said,
and wrong.
And it was wrong. And so just a good example of, we need to be the ones influencing culture. And you're not going to do that just by going in and doing things within the walls of the church.
Right.
Not that you shouldn't do that, but get outside of the walls of the church. Stop blaming it on the pastor. Well, the pastor won't. Well, the pastor's supposed to run the church.
Mm-hmm.
You're the church. Get out and you do something. What have you done? Anyway.
This is a joyful podcast.
This is a joyful podcast. It is.
Joyful warriors.
Because they're getting beat back now.
Yeah.
Because Disney Pixar did that because society, because culture has rejected. People are rejecting all of this indoctrination, and they're starting to see that.
Listen, it's no different than when a parent is disciplining a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you train up a child in the way he should go. Okay, well, we are saying no, we don't accept your worldview,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why it is imperative for believers to be involved to continue to push the biblical worldview into society.
That's right. Here's one more before we go to break.
Mm-hmm.
Hershey's becomes the latest company to pledge eliminating synthetic dyes from its products.
Wow, okay.
The Hershey Company, also known as Hershey's, announced this week that it plans on getting rid of toxic synthetic dyes from its candy bars in the next couple of years. Can I just pause and say, a year ago, if you were talking about this, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
And now they're all admitting to it because why? Because good people are in government.
Mm-hmm.
Think what you want about RFK Jr. He did this. He is being used by the Lord to push back on this evil. So now they're admitting it. Hershey's just pledged to eliminate synthetic dyes from its candy by the end of 2027. I call on all other companies to follow their lead and make America healthy again. That's what Kennedy said. He said to Bloomberg, removing these colors is a natural next step in our program to ensure consumers have options to fit their lifestyle while maintaining trust and confidence in our products.
Mm-hmm.
All good news, all good news. So we'll go to break real quick, come back, and let's talk about things that just got signed into law with the big, beautiful bill that you've been hearing about.
Okay.
BRB.
This may sound really shocking, but it's not really surprising considering that international research repeatedly portrays that 0.5 up to even 3% of our male population has some form of pedophilic interest.
What they'll do is they'll pick this identity group, and their goal is to turn this identity group into a victim status where they can claim rights at law.
We must fight discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, and we must prosecute those who target victims for violence because of who they are or whom they love.
The Biden administration is amending Title IX to expand protections to LGBTQ students in schools that receive federal funding.
What's happening in the public schools now is a deliberate attempt to convince our children that they may be transgenders. It's being portrayed as cool.
Used to be fashionable by being gay. Now you're fashionable by being trans, you know, and everybody celebrates you. Well, you want to be celebrated.
We are in a battle right now that is far beyond Democrat and Republican. We are talking now in the realm of good versus evil.
So back to wins here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Just the News. Trump's triumph with one big, beautiful bill to realign America for years to come. Now, let's just put a disclaimer on here.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Doesn't have this. You know, super expensive. I get it. Listen, I get it. Let's talk about the good things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're not going to fix everything right now.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight.
No. Am I happy about all the spending? No. I'm not happy about a couple of firearms things that got removed at the last minute. They were going to remove suppressors and short-barreled rifles from the NFA list. Unless you're a gun guy, it means nothing to you.
Mm-hmm.
Am I happy about that? No, but I am going to celebrate the good things that came out of this. So, President Donald Trump's triumph in passing the One Big Beautiful Bill not only demonstrated he could conquer the often maddening politics of Congress, he also set the United States on a fundamentally different course when it comes to taxes, government spending, and domestic policies like Medicaid and food stamps. Both chambers of Congress passed the Trump agenda ahead of their July 4th deadline, and it was signed on July 4th on Friday. The legislation has been lauded as a groundbreaking bill with an emphasis on taxes, federal spending, and government policy. There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill to make America great again. That was Trump. With this bill, every major promise I made to the people of Iowa in 2024 became a promise kept. Mm-hmm. All right. The One Big Beautiful Bill is historic when it comes to taxes, including eliminating federal taxes on tips and overtime pay, and creating a deduction for car loan interest payments. It also promises to provide a 12% tax cuts for American families making under $100,000 a year. That's significant. Mm-hmm. The legislation will also increase the tax credit for children by doubling it to $2,200, boost the standard deduction to $31,500 for families, expand federal education savings and health savings accounts, and make the paid leave tax credit permanent. The laundry list of policy changes were once something conservatives in Congress could only dream about until Trump's election in November. For 2 years, the Ways and Means Committee has been preparing for this moment, and thanks to President Trump's overwhelming victory in November, a historic pro-growth, pro-America tax bill that delivers on the president's promises to American workers and families will soon become law. Legislation also introduces the Trump Savings Account, which would deposit $1,000 into a savings account for newborns and then allow other entities to deposit up to $5,000 per year. Mm-hmm. What's the mindset behind this is have babies.
Yeah.
And I'll get to this. Hold on. The mammoth piece of legislation highlights how the president plans to shape federal spending. Trump's bill increases funding for Border Patrol and expands resources for immigration and customs enforcement officials. It also includes funding for building a wall along the Mexican border. Thank you. Mm-hmm. New legislation gives the Department of Homeland Security funding for 10,000 new ICE personnel, 5,000 new customs officers, and 3,000 new Border Patrol agents. The bill also restructures SNAP and Medicaid by adding new work requirements for people seeking to join the programs, which Republicans claim will help protect the programs for the people they were intended for, including disabled Americans, low-income earners, and pregnant women. It would help to weed out abuse and fraud. The legislation, incidentally, and I don't, you had mentioned this, the FBI just, how many people did they bust on the Medicare fraud thing?
Oh, yes.
It was doctors and nurses. I mean, there was a bunch of them in Indiana. It was about a dozen people in Indiana, and it was the biggest medical fraud
in U.S. history.
Let
me look and see if I can find it real fast.
You find that there was two that were right here. I mean, there was one in New Haven, one in Fort Wayne.
Nearly $15 billion was reported in losses in the most expensive healthcare fraud in the United States history. The FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said on Monday. Today, in conjunction with the DOJ and our federal partners, we are announcing the result from the largest healthcare fraud investigation as measured by financial losses in DOJ history. Let me see how many.
Well, you looking?
I can't. Yeah, I can't. I'm not seeing.
Back to the legislation. Also provides funding for key priorities of the new administration, including modernizing air traffic control. That's a good thing, which comes in the wake of several deadly plane crashes earlier this year, and promoting building new factories for domestic businesses by enhancing cost recovery for the buildings and creating new jobs. This is the most comprehensive and consequential set of conservative reforms in modern history. The Big Beautiful Bill delivers the greatest single investment in border security and national defense, the largest tax cuts for families and small businesses, the most significant commitment to unlocking America's energy resources, and the largest reduction in spending in the history of the United States by twofold. These are all good things.
Mm-hmm.
Are there? We gotta be careful on the conservative side of things to not become like the abolitionists, who, no matter how good things are, they sit and complain and say it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you're dealing with, trying to roll back things that have been in place for 100 years, some
generations, decades.
Generations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting too how I was thinking about, on the 4th of July, Trump kicked off the year-long 250th birthday celebration that really would be in 2026.
Right.
But, and I saw something the other day and they said, a generation, quote unquote, a generation is 25 years. So let's just say that's right. So we're talking now that we are, let's say, if it's 25 years, then let's say we're 10 generations removed from the founding of our nation.
Mm-hmm.
And how drastically the mindsets of people have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Because of success, because of prosperity.
How comfortable we've become.
Yeah. You think of how many generations removed you are from the generation that fought World War II. Say we're, 4 generations now removed from the greatest generation.
Oh, it reminds me of that quote or that saying about the strong man and the weak man during hard times and good times.
Right. It's strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. Hard times make strong men.
That's right.
That's the
So there's the
cycle.
there's the generational cycle is what I was getting at.
Yeah. And I was thinking of how, when World War II kicked off, there were men lying about their age so that they could go fight.
Yeah.
Lining up to go and fight. And now we're starting to see that again. I mean, when Trump came into office.
Oh, and Pete is the new Hegseth?
Hegseth, yeah. Yeah. As soon as good leadership came in, all the armed forces branches broke their recruiting records because strong men are back in power. And it was so demoralizing, so I am not a veteran. I was not enlisted. I was in the Air Force Auxiliary, the Civil Air Patrol. But I was in that during the Obama years. And it was very demoralizing because, and I thought I'd be curious to see if this has trickled down to things like CAP, because CAP used to be a good program. It was.
Listen, everybody takes a directive from a higher.
Yeah.
It's like the Dear Colleague letters that go out to the schools and the administrations. Yeah.
So they used to, and people that were in the squadron would tell me, well, we used to be able to do this. We used to be able to do that. When I was in, it was so woke, it was ridiculous. And you'd get in trouble for everything. You couldn't, it was bubble wrap around, because I helped with the cadets. It's like a junior ROTC program. And I saw the effect that it had. It finally drove me nuts enough that I said, I can't do this anymore, because there was so much. They wanted all these things to happen and they bragged about all these things that they did, but they didn't do squat because everything was about liability protection. And I just went, you guys are a joke. I mean, some parts of CAP, they actually do things, but what I was in 5 years, I only ever did one actual search and rescue mission.
And that's why you started your own.
That's why I started my own team, and I took my guys with me because I went, this stuff is happening everywhere, and we don't get involved because we have all these rules of engagement that are just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. All the red tape.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I just think it's good to celebrate the wins.
Yeah, as we should.
So with that, I guess we'll let everybody go.
We'll be That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thanks for listening through to the end, and be sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And share this with your family and friends. Until next time, march on, saints, and be filled with the Spirit.
I'm not arguing now.